Look around you for a moment. Notice the people you see every day. On the streets, in offices, online. Have you felt it too? Something feels different. People seem more impatient than before. Small things make them angry. Conversations feel colder. Even when we are surrounded by people, we often feel alone. This is not about blaming anyone. This is not about saying people are bad. What if something deeper is happening? What if modern life itself is slowly changing how humans think, feel, and treat each other? We live in a fast world. Everything moves quickly. Messages, news, expectations, pressure. We are told to succeed, to be productive, to look confident, to stay strong. But no one teaches us how to understand our feelings. No one teaches us how to deal with fear, sadness, or inner pain. So what do people do instead? They hide. When feelings are ignored, they don't disappear, they go inside. And when they stay inside for too long, they come out in unhealthy ways. This is how toxic behavior often begins. Not because someone wants to hurt others, but because they don't know how to handle what's happening inside them. Many people wear emotional armor. They act tough, they act cold, they act superior. But armor is usually built out of fear. Fear of being hurt, fear of being judged, fear of not being enough. In today's world, kindness is often seen as weakness. Softness is seen as a risk. So people protect themselves the only way they know how, by shutting down emotionally, by attacking first, by pulling away. Social media makes this worse. We compare our real lives to other people's edited lives. We measure worth through likes, views, and attention. Slowly, people stop seeing others as humans and start seeing them as threats or competitors. When self-worth depends on approval, the self becomes fragile. And fragile people react strongly. They defend themselves even when no real danger exists. This is not cruelty. This is survival mode. And a person stuck in survival mode has very little space for empathy. Modern life keeps the human mind under constant pressure. Money worries, job insecurity, too much information, no real rest. The brain is always alert, always preparing for the next problem. When the brain lives like this for too long, it changes. Science shows us that stressed brains focus on danger, not connection. They look for threats, not understanding. This is why overwhelmed people often become harsh, not because they want to hurt others, but because they are already exhausted inside. Ask yourself something honestly. How many people around you feel truly safe? Safe to speak, safe to be vulnerable, safe to be themselves. When safety is missing, control feels comforting. Distance feels like protection. Silence feels like strength. But this strength is an illusion. Many toxic behaviors are actually desperate attempts to feel powerful in a world that feels overwhelming. Another deep problem is meaning. Many people wake up, go to work, scroll, sleep, and repeat. They feel like small parts of a machine they don't believe in. When life feels empty, something tries to fill that emptiness. Sometimes it becomes anger, sometimes addiction, sometimes emotional carelessness. If a culture values speed over depth, image over honesty, and competition over connection, what kind of humans will it create? People learn to hide tenderness. They learn to perform instead of feel. Armor protects, but it also isolates. Even kind people can become cold when the environment rewards coldness. So take a moment now. Where have you learned to hide your softness? Where do you act differently just to survive? This environment does not randomly create behavior. It rewards it. Detachment is called professionalism. Aggression is called ambition. From childhood, worth becomes performance. Grades, success, approval. When love feels conditional, the real self goes underground. A mask is built. Over time, many forget who they really are, and that inner split creates irritation, defensiveness, and emptiness. Trauma is not always loud. Sometimes trauma is being unseen as a child. Being compared constantly. Being told feelings don't matter. A mind shaped this way learns one thing: the world is not safe. So neutral words feel like attacks. Simple requests feel like demands. Reactions are bigger than the moment because they belong to the past. Modern life does not help heal this pain. It distracts us instead. Endless noise, endless content, no silence. But pain needs silence to speak. Avoided pain does not disappear. It leaks into behavior. Often it hurts the people closest to us. Another hidden force is shame. Shame is not, I did something wrong. Shame is, I am something wrong. In a world of constant comparison, shame grows easily. When shame is triggered, people fight, dominate, or disappear emotionally. These are automatic defenses, not conscious choices. Many people were never taught the language of emotions. They don't know what they feel. Unnamed emotions become overwhelming. Unprocessed feelings become explosive. This is why small events cause big reactions. It's never about the small event. It's about years of unfelt fear and grief. We praise moving on. But emotions don't move on by being ignored. They wait, and they repeat themselves in relationships. Ask yourself honestly, how many arguments are really about the present? And how many are old wounds wearing new clothes? We also lost true adulthood rituals. People grow older without growing emotionally. They carry adult responsibilities with childlike emotional reflexes. Short-term pow. Feels good. Long-term isolation feels terrible. Walls feel safe at first. Later, they become prisons. Awareness is the first crack of light. The real danger appears when defense becomes identity. Instead of saying, I was hurt, people say, I am cold. The mask becomes the self. When this happens, empathy fades, flexibility disappears. Everything feels like a threat. Life moves too fast to repair what breaks inside us. Pain accumulates, and it demands release, often through control, criticism, withdrawal. This is not strength, it is armor welded shut. Many people believe change requires the world to be kinder, but real power begins inside. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a pause. That pause is freedom. Toxic patterns survive where there is no pause. Real strength is feeling pain without passing it on. This is not weakness. It is mastery. Healing is not deleting pain, it is digesting it. Named emotions lose power. Seen pain softens. Self-awareness is not selfish, it is responsibility. Without it, pain is passed forward. With it, pain becomes wisdom. We also need a new definition of strength. Strength is staying open in a world that rewards numbness. People anchored in meaning don't need to dominate others. Purpose reduces aggression. When you know why you live, you don't need to prove yourself constantly. Here is the compassionate truth. The most toxic people are often the most lost. Lost from purpose. Lost from themselves. Lost from belonging. Inner emptiness always tries to fill itself, sometimes with control, sometimes with status, sometimes by hurting others. The solution is not rejection. It is conscious interruption. So ask yourself this final question. When tension appears, do you react automatically or do you pause and choose? That pause is where old patterns end. The world may remain loud and confusing, but it does not decide who you are. That choice belongs to you. Every small conscious decision matters. When enough people choose awareness over reaction, responsibility over blame, and meaning over ego, culture begins to change. This revolution is quiet. It doesn't trend. It happens inside. But it is powerful enough to heal what this age has broken. At the very end of all this, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The world is not going to slow down for us. Pressure will continue, noise will continue, people will still disappoint us. So the real question is not how to escape this world. The real question is this: who do you choose to be inside it? Every day you are faced with small moments, moments that seem ordinary, a comment that irritates you, a delay that frustrates you, a person who doesn't understand you. Most people live these moments on autopilot. They react without thinking. They repeat patterns they learned long ago. But there is another option. You can pause. That pause may last only 1 second, but inside that second lives your power. In that space, you decide whether pain continues it, journey, or whether it ends with you. This is not about being perfect. It is not about never feeling anger or fear. It is about refusing to let those feelings control your actions. A conscious response does not mean silence. It does not mean weakness. It means choosing clarity over impulse, responsibility over blame, understanding over attack. This choice slowly reshapes you. When you stop reacting automatically, you begin to see people more clearly. You realize that many harsh words are actually wounded words, that many cold behaviors are built on fear, that many controlling actions come from inner chaos. This does not excuse harm, but it frees you from carrying it forward. And something else begins to happen. When you act with awareness, you stop feeding the system that thrives on division. You become harder to manipulate, harder to provoke, harder to turn against yourself or others. This is how real change begins. Not through loud arguments, not through winning debates, but through inner stability. A person who knows themselves does not need to dominate others. A person who can sit with their emotions does not need to run from discomfort. A person anchored in meaning does not need to prove their worth constantly. This is the quiet strength our world lacks. And it starts in places no one applauds, in private choices, in unseen pauses, in moments where no one is watching. The world may reward speed, aggression, and image, but you do not have to. You can choose depth. Why? You can choose presence. You can choose to respond rather than react. This is not naive, it is revolutionary, because a conscious person cannot be easily controlled, and a conscious culture cannot remain broken forever. So as you move forward, remember this: you will not change the world by fighting it. You change it by refusing to become what harms it. That choice is available to you every day, in every interaction, in every pause. And when enough people make that choice, something truly human returns. Look deeper, beyond the armor, beneath the hurry, within the silence we avoid. That is where the shift begins. You see it in the eyes of the stranger on the subway, a fleeting moment of exhaustion before the blank stare returns. You hear it in the voice of a colleague, a sharp edge masking a tremor of uncertainty. This is the landscape of our time, a collective flinch, a world of hearts beating in guarded cages. We have built systems of incredible efficiency and connected ourselves with invisible threads of data, yet we have neglected the inner ecosystem, the slow, fertile ground of the human spirit where patience, compassion, and trust naturally grow. When that ground is starved of rest, of meaning, of safety, it does not simply lie fallow, it grows thorns, it hardens. The behaviors we call toxic are often those thorns, piercing others because the soil itself has turned to stone. Consider the language of our days. We speak of bandwidth and capacity as if we are machines. We allocate time and optimize interactions. When we use the lexicon of efficiency to describe the human experience, we quietly agree to its terms. We begin to believe that slowing down is a glitch, that tenderness is an inefficient use of resources, that grief is downtime. We are not grieving the loss of slowness itself, and that ungrieved loss turns into a background radiation of irritability. But here is a secret the modern world tries to make you forget. You are a living system, not a digital one. A living system requires seasons, it requires dormancy, it requires time not to produce, but simply to be. The constant summer of stimulation, the endless light of screens, the relentless harvest of attention, breaks the rhythm. And a broken rhythm creates a frantic heart. A frantic heart sees threats in shadows and mistakes other frantic hearts for the enemy. This is why the pause is not passive. It is an act of rebellion. It is the reclamation of your own rhythm. In that space between trigger and reaction, you meet not just the present moment, but all the moments that shaped your reflexes. You meet the child who was told to stop crying, the student who learned that only as earned approval, the adult who was praised for burning out. In the pause, you can say to those old ghosts, I see you, but this is my now. The path forward is not a return to a mythical past. It is an integration. It is carrying your full, complex, wired self into the quiet clearing of your own awareness. It is acknowledging that yes, the world is loud, but you have an inner volume knob. It is admitting that yes, people are harsh, but you have a choice not to join the chorus. This work is microscopic and monumental. It happens in the milliseconds. The deep breath before replying to a provoking email. The conscious softening of your jaw when you feel criticized. The silent question, what is really hurting here? When you feel the surge of anger. The decision to put the phone down and stare out the window into the nothingness that feels like everything. These are the rituals of the new adulthood. Not ceremonies of age, but daily ceremonies of choice. They are how we grow emotionally in a world that stunts that growth. Each conscious pause is a crack in the armor, not to dismantle protection, but to ensure it doesn't fuse to the skin. For the truth is, the armor was once a brilliant solution. It got you through the battles of your past, the loneliness, the comparisons, the rejections. You would not be here without it, so thank it. And then, gently, ask if it is needed for this specific moment. Is this conversation a war, or is it just a conversation? Is this person an adversary, or are they just a person wearing their own armor, fighting their own unseen battles? When you learn to do this, you begin to emit a different signal, not one of compliance or aggression, but of grounded presence. This signal is disarming. It does not feed the chaos. In meetings, in lines, in online comments, your calm becomes a subtle invitation. Others may not understand why, but they feel it. Here is a space that is not charged with threat. Here is a person who is not looking for a fight. This is how you build islands of sanity in a sea of frenzy, and one by one, others begin to swim toward them. The most profound change, therefore, is not in how we handle conflict, but in how we handle connection. We must relearn the art of attention, the kind that is full and patient, to listen not just to the words, but to the silence between them, to see not just the action, but the longing behind it. This is how we make others feel seen, and a person who feels seen is far less likely to wield their pain as a weapon. We must also reclaim our narratives from the market. Our worth is not our productivity. Our value is not our following. Our life is not a brand. These are stories we were sold. The truer story is that you are inherently valuable because you exist, because you feel, you wonder, you ache, you love. This is the bedrock. Without it, we are building our identities on the shifting sand of external validation, and we will always be one comment, one missed promotion, one unfavorable comparison away from collapse.
So who do you choose to be inside this? You choose to be the one who feels the storm of emotion without becoming the storm.
You choose to be the one who questions the automatic thought, the inherited bias, the convenient blame. You choose to be the one who offers the grace of a pause to others, because you know how desperately you sometimes need it yourself. This is not about adding another task to your list. It is about subtraction. It is about removing, layer by layer, the conditioned noise, so that your own true signal can come through. The signal that says, I am here, I am human, so are you, this is hard, let's not make it harder. The revolution is indeed quiet. It is the millions of unseen decisions to turn inward for authority instead of outward, to seek clarity over victory, to value repair over being right. It is a return to the wisdom of the heart, not as a sentimental gesture, but as the most sophisticated and radical technology we possess for navigating complexity. The world will not slow down, but you can become steady within its spin. And from that steadiness you will begin to recognize the same quiet revolution in the eyes of others, a flicker of recognition, a shared unspoken understanding, a momentary dropping of the shield. In those glances a new world is already being born. It is born in the pause, it is born in the breath, it is born in the courageous, vulnerable and relentless choice to feel this life deeply, and to refuse to let its hardness make you hard. Your softness then becomes not a weakness, but your greatest point of contact with everything that is truly alive. And in a world half asleep, to be fully alive is the most transformative act of all.